Hello and welcome to episode 5 of 48 Hour Heroes, Origin Stories. I'm your host, Kirk Nordenstrom, co-producer of the Seattle 48 Hour Film Project and the Montana 48 Hour Film Project. Today I'm going to be talking with Olivier DuSausse. To say that he's a city producer is a bit misleading. Olivier is actually the producer for all of the 48 Hour Film Project events in the entire country of France. In a normal year, he does about 10 events around the entirety of France, and he's just amazing. I can't imagine doing 10 events. Some years he's done all 10 cities in one weekend, which is just complete and utter crazy pants. So today, I'm going to talk with him primarily about Filmapalooza and a bit of his background before the 48 Hour Film Project. I met him in 2013 at Filmapalooza in Los Angeles, and I immediately felt like, to use a colloquialism, he was my brother from a French mother. Just immediately hit it off with him, and we've been close friends ever since. He's also in that elite club of producers who have hosted a Filmapalooza event. In 2018, Filmapalooza had its international debut on the world stage in Paris, and it was an event to behold. I'm really glad that we didn't host Filmapalooza in Seattle in 2019 because, that was a tough act to follow. So please welcome Olivier DuSausse, producer of the 48 Hour Film Project France. And Kyle, if you're listening, Film Orlando was great. I had a great time. But, Paris, dude.
So it really doesn't matter what you look like, say or do. I know that I had a cool weekend and you.
All right. Hello. I am here with Olivier DuSausse, who is my counterpart basically for the entire country of France. I run Seattle and Montana. He runs France. So welcome, Olivier.
Welcome. Thank you.
So I believe the first time I met you was in Los Angeles in 2013.
2013. My first film, maybe we don't know each other, but my first film was in Albuquerque in
I didn't go to
2000.
That one.
You don't go. And then after so this was I was as a participant. I was the team leader of the Paris winner team, and then we move on. We follow a little bit what happened with the 48, and then I start to produce in 2010. So I may say that my first film as a CP was Miami.
I missed that one too.
Okay, and then I don't miss anyone. I've been to all the film. So if your first one at this moment was LA, it was LA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I met Steve Nash and Chris Cherry at that one.
Yes. I remember that.
Yeah, Filmapalooza is a special thing. I mean, it's my favorite holiday.
Yes, it's a kind of it's holiday, but when you get up, you are really tired.
Yeah.
Normally holidays are for rest, but this film, that's something.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that blows me away is just how many people you meet and from where.
From all around the world. Yes.
And we're in a somewhat illustrious club, having been hosts to Filmapalooza.
Yes,
that's a whole different thing, running it as opposed to being a guest.
Yes, and it's the crazy thing is that for me, I met people from countries I never imagined I can meet these countries ever, because I never met some people from Mongolia or Uruguay or etc. And Filmapalooza is this opportunity, and this opportunity you give also to filmmakers.
Yeah. Well, I remember in 2017 when Seattle hosted.
Yeah.
You remember Solo Bar, which was our home base.
Yes.
There was a woman from Durban, South Africa.
Yep, I remember.
And she had never experienced weather where the temperature had been above, let's see, let me do the math, like 15 Celsius, 60 Fahrenheit. And we were hanging outside of Solo, just talking. And she's like, yeah, I've never seen snow. I've never been above, 60 Fahrenheit before. And the moment she said that, it started snowing.
Wow, magic. That's magic.
So I got to, witness a person's first sighting of snow ever in their life, as a part of Filmapalooza. It's, pretty amazing.
Yes, it is. It is.
But I mean, let's back up.
Yeah.
What did you do before and, currently, because, no one does the 48 full time except for the, HQ staff. But, what's your background, leading up to participating in the 48 and then producing?
Okay. I own a small video production company. And it was in 2006. We had big customers, big brands, and we produce a lot of I should say now, because I'm not involved in boring films, of people who said that their product, their service are the best service ever, and even if you don't care, you have to say, oh yes, your product are so great because they pay me to say that. And we have one expression in France, is to have the client on your shoulder. And when you do a film, even if it's you have to do a fun film or do something like a narrative, or you made some advertising, etc., you always have the client on your shoulder. And it was a moment we have a lot of pressure. And I saw just a little ad on a website, on a famous website a French website where if you want to hire somebody, you go on the website. And there was this ad, oh, you want to have fun? Do a short in 2 days. And then it was something like on the Monday, and it was for the next weekend.
Oh, wow.
Paris. It was for the next weekend. And so I said to the guys and girls working with me, I said, okay, do you want to have fun? Do you want to say a story or something like that? Okay, let's go. Let's try this. And we register, and we were on the waiting list. And they say, okay, we're sorry, we have no more place for you. All right. And then on the Tuesday morning, they give us a call, and they say, okay, one team withdrew. Do you want to do it? Okay, let's go. I register, I paid, and after I pay, I say, okay, we have to do a short. We have no actors. It's in 4 days. We have no place because we don't have time to find some fun place, etc. So let's see what will happen. And so one of my teammates went to the kickoff, and he come back with you used to have this genre combination, Western and musical. So we are in the middle of Paris. Nobody can sing and nobody can make any music in our group. So we are obliged to do Western. But the thing is that we don't have any place. We have just one small car. But we have 2 guys in our team with a bird like yours and long hairs. So, okay, let's go for a Sergio Leone film. And what we did, it was a kind of Western. It was 2 salesmen, and the boss come and say, okay, guys, a big client will call. Because yes, I remember that the character was a yoga teacher. This guy crazy. They want us to do a Western, and the character is a yoga teacher. How can I mix that? So the big client was a yoga teacher. We want to buy stuff for yoga. and the boss say, okay, the one will take the call, win the deal, and the other is fired. And that's the story. And at the end, we have a little twists that change, but we make everything look like a Sergio Leone Italian Western spaghetti movie, and we were happy with that. But at the end, on the Sunday, we finish in time, and we discussed. We say, "Oh, this film is a big crap. We are not proud of this film. We have no sound engineer, and we make something fun in our own office." And so the screening come, and Mark Rupert was here. It was the second time that 48-hour Film Project was in Paris. And Mark loves France. So I think he like a great opportunity to say, okay, I will visit Paris. I know him now. Now I know him. I sure he's saying that. And so he come for the screening, and we won. We won the best film and the audience award. We were so surprised. And then 2-3 months after, we received a mail. Guys, we have this award ceremony called Filmapalooza, and all the best teams from not all around the world, because there were only London, Paris, and I think I don't remember. I think it was Brisbane from Australia. So only three foreign cities and all the other US cities. And they say, okay, we'll have this award ceremony, and because you are the best of Paris, you are selected. And place was Albuquerque. So I said to my teams, guys, we have a Western. It's in Albuquerque. We got to go. And the great luck I had is in my I used to work time ago. I used to work for 10 years in Canon.
Okay.
And I got a lot of friends still working in Canon, and especially the product manager of the small HD cameras. It was the first time that Canon launched ND HD cameras for everybody. So I said, okay, guy, I got a deal for you. You pay me 3 tickets, Paris, Albuquerque. You pay me 3 rooms for 1 week, and we produce you a film with your HD camera, a nice, great film with your HD camera. So we get the deal. And then we arrive in Albuquerque, and we met Mark and all the people you know, and it was crazy. It was crazy to, in France there is a mini short film festival, and that's why I'm happy to produce the 48, because we bring this 48 mood. Because sometimes when you go to visit watch some films in short films festival in France, it's very serious. People got big heads, say, this is my film, etc. And when you come to Filma, people think about 2 things: having fun and watch films. That's the thing. And we say, wow, it's so crazy. And so we had this great time, and we won the best directing. But we were so scared because, okay, in the plane, we say, okay, guys, we have a Western, but we have done this in Paris in an office. And I always remember we start the screening, and when the screening start, first film was from something like Salt Lake City, Western. And the first thing you see, it's a old train station with an old train, and there were horses, guys with guns, etc. Say, okay, guys, we're screwed. Forget about it. We don't want to. But we want the best directing with a film made with 6 persons. So we were really happy. And that's one thing I learned. It's even if you don't have any big cameras, actors, etc. If you have good idea, it works, and that's the thing. So that was how we did. We had such a great time, and I remember I sent the mail to Mark and Liz just after Film Paris to thank them, because they trust in me to bring for the first time Filmapalooza out of USA.
Hmm.
and I make them I explain them that it was something like a little dream I had just at the end of Albuquerque, that maybe one time we can bring this madness in France. And something like 12 years after we did that. So that was
There's a lot of, memorable 48 Filmapaloozas for me, but, so I grew up in San Jose, California,
yeah.
and, where the dominant second languages are Vietnamese, Spanish, and Farsi, because there's, large Vietnamese, Mexican, and, Iranian population in the San Jose area. But I went to a school where I learned French, Latin, and then some German.
You told me that. Yes, you told me that. Yeah.
Which is just, it's insanity to grow up in San Jose and not learn Spanish.
Mhm.
So, I rarely spoke French, rarely got to speak it. I come to Filmapalooza and can kind of stumble through a conversation with you and the French teams. And, it was great because I was, my reading is much better than my spoken French.
Yes.
But I was able to order in restaurants and just talk to people on the street. It was great.
The basics. It was restaurant.
Yeah. And my wife, Kasha, she adores Paris. She'd been there before and loved it.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like just super excited to go there and see the sights and kind of watch my reaction, because we've traveled a fair amount together, in places where she speaks fluent Polish. So when we're in Poland, it's, we get along just fine, but other places, neither of us know the language. So we're constantly on Google Translate. So she had fun watching me interact with people. And just kind of amazed at the city. It's an amazing city.
You are. It's like you are living in a postcard.
Yeah.
But we people from Paris, we sometimes we lose that. We don't remember we are living in Paris, and sometimes you have to take a pause and say, "Wow."
Yeah, I remember. We made a couple of trips up to Montmartre. And, I had some of the best meals I think I've ever had. When you travel enough, you kind of learn how cities work and how to find like the really good places to eat.
Yes.
We were walking around in Montmartre, and, I'm just like, this is where Amélie was shot. Oh my God, this is amazing. We get off of the train and we walk up and we're looking around like, where do we eat? I guess we can't make a bad choice, really. Everything's going to be amazing, but we saw a bunch of city workers go into one restaurant. Yeah, like that's where we're eating.
Now you understand what French people are very exigent with the quality.
Yeah, it's like if the locals are eating here, that's where we have to go. And we came back the next day for lunch as well. It was that good.
Yes.
But yeah, you really brought kind of a level of grandeur to Filmapalooza. That it hasn't had. Just the award ceremony at City Hall, we had to get an invitation, from the mayor to get in the building. It was amazing.
The thing is, also in France, the luck we had, it's what they call the exception française, exception culturelle française, means that the government help a lot creativity. So it means that I remember the guy in charge of all the cinema for Paris. It was just after the terrorist attacks in Paris, and the idea for them is to say, okay, people from all around the world, you can come back in Paris. It's safe, and we want to show that to people that we can gather from all around the world. And it was this time that Mark and we met this guy explaining what is Filma. He said, okay, I want you to be in Paris. And that's because, it's what we do with Filma is always, we do everything by our own hands. It means we deal with the cinema. We are all CPs, small teams, and we try to find deals, good deals with cinemas, good deals with place, and we learn a lot, etc. Here, the luck I had is that they have the city of Paris say, okay, we want you. So that's why we have this great cinema, a great price. If we had to pay that, we never can do it. but all the cinemas you were free for
Wow.
us. That's why we can do that. That was the great deal, because if you don't have this, you can do that. You can do that in your regular cinema, but not with all these lights and
Mhm.
brights of Paris. That's what the guy wants, and that's why we did that. But it took a really long time for negotiation because it's very administrative. So you have
Mhm.
to deal and give numbers, etc. And so I was really happy to have all this crowd in the city hall and having fun, drinking free champagne. You produce a film and you know how it is. And when for me, I say I've been to now. I think the coming one will be this year will be my 12th Filmapalooza. But I always say I participate to 11 Filmapalooza and I produce one. You see, because when you produce a
Yep.
Filmapalooza, you don't. I don't watch any films. I
No.
don't know if you get time in Seattle. Even of course you edit them, but I don't take time to pause and say, okay, let's watch the films. And I never sit in the theater to watch films, and also all the things you have to face with the award ceremony, etc. So you work a
Mhm.
lot. So I produced one film and I've been in 11 other ones. That's the story. Yeah, but my favorite moment is when I was the first day and I meet you guys, all my CP friends here in my hometown. It was crazy. You guys, I know from all around the world, you were here, and because we make this great job, that was crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that was my experience. Like, the opening night in Seattle in the
it was
KEXP
great. I
lobby,
remember.
and
Yeah, yeah.
it was amazing just seeing all these people from all over the world in my back town, in my theater
Yes.
where I
Yeah.
screen my city's 48s, and
Yes.
everyone coming to my favorite bar.
Yes.
Oh,
Also. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
where I met my wife. My best friend. One of my
Yeah.
best friends
Yeah.
owns it,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
it's really kind of humbling to
Mm.
have all these people from all over the world. But I wanted to back
Mm.
up for a second because
Yep.
you mentioned something about the government sponsoring the arts and
Mm-hmm.
being very active in that, because that's not really something that happens in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And the long running joke that why bother bringing your film to Filmapalooza, because the Dutch and the French are going to win everything.
And the check.
But there is, we see with, especially with a lot of the European countries, watching the films, there is a tendency towards, a more refined production style and more of a focus on a serious storytelling. I don't want to say, that other countries or the United States lacks that, because, we see amazing films from all over the world.
Yes.
I mean, Japan, most recently, I think Mexico City has
Yeah.
been, they've been killing it.
Mm.
But there seems to be, something about the Dutch and the French films, or it's just a little elevated in terms of storytelling and execution. And I'm wondering what your perspective on that is.
I have two theories. First, one thing I note, and it's now from my first time in Filmapalooza, I already discussed with Mark about that. It's when you discuss with US people, they say when we run a 48-hour film project is have fun and make a film. And I feel like in Europe, and mainly Dutch, Netherlands, and France, is make a film and have fun. You see the difference, and there is many many US films. You can imagine how the guys are having fun when they make this film, because they are champion to put the people, the character in so many crazy situations. And you can imagine all team say, okay, guys, we are shooting that. So I think, the difference between having fun and make a film and make a film and having fun. I think that's the first thing. And what I note with especially Dutch and French, but also a lot of Europeans, because now Brussels is not there, but I used to produce Brussels with my friend Greg and Matilda, and also the Czech, is always that on the storytelling, the stories are, I should say, always on the edge. You see, on the edge of the limit of the genre or the message, etc. And I feel that because we have many teams coming from schools, that Americans, US cities, they are more on the respect a lot the genre, but not going so much. And when you have, I see many great US films, but when they are great, for me, because I'm coming from Europe, I feel they are going on this edge. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Chicken in your face. This is the guy who makes this, and I always remember all these scenes, and then that was typically European stories. You see,
that one was brilliant. I mean, Sharon was the Seattle City winner in 2014.
Sharon.
Yeah. So it's just always interesting to note the difference, culturally between how stories are told. South America, they've produced some amazingly avant-garde, Terry Gilliam-esque weirdness that you don't see elsewhere. Okay, I'm gonna step in here because I've known Olivier for a long time, and we have a tendency to get a little off track at times and reminisce about our favorite films at Filmapalooza, our favorite beers and our favorite bars. And it's all entertaining, but it's a bit long-winded and full of inside jokes. So maybe I'll save some of that for the Patreon extras. Oh yeah, I set up a Patreon account. It's called Metal Dork from the Burbs, because that's what I am, a metal dork from the suburbs of San Jose. So back to Olivier.
You know that there is the one I always screen the official 48 clip before my screenings, and this year in the best of, there were 4 teams and many people who were in Rotterdam. And there is this video clip or the 48, or where you can see can see you with your tattoo. And so we start the first time, and so I watch it. I remember you wearing it, but when you appear, there were people, something like 20 people in the crowd saying Kirk. They were shouting Kirk. I say, yes. That's good.
Oh man, it's Rotterdam. I gotta hand it to Hans and Jasper. They really stepped it up to produce the second international Filmapalooza.
Yes, it was great. But it's something we have in Europe. We have a lot of supports from the cities. I know I discussed with them, and they said that the mayor of Rotterdam is a very innovative person, so he want to have this kind of thing. And the place was great, and it's also historical. There's a lot of history in Rotterdam, so that's also very nice to visit.
I mean, it's in the States, it's going to vary from state to state, because this is a gigantic country. We don't state to state, we don't all share the same sort of social priorities. And luckily, having been in the film industry here in Seattle for 20 years, I know almost everyone, to one degree or another. And I got a lot of help producing Filmapalooza here in Seattle from, the city of Seattle, the mayor's office of film and music, Kate Becker, and Chris Swenson were, invaluable. They got us into the opening night space, which normally costs a huge amount of money. They got us in there very cheap. My ties to the Seattle True Independent Film Festival, they got us all the booze for that night. And Washington Filmworks, which administers our state, film program, they pulled strings to help us get into certain places. And the Seattle International Film Festival, they gave us discounted rates. And I remember Nicole was running the screenings. I know the tech specs for that theater inside and out because I do it every year. She was just like, this is heaven. This is so easy. You have a great theater. So it's, we have to cobble things together in a lot more of a, DIY fashion. We don't have the institutional support. We definitely have support. We just have to work a lot harder for it.
Yeah. But we have this kind of freedom. We do how we want. That's also very great. And Mark have his really things in mind, the spirit of film. That's, for me, it's the most important thing, is to always keep the spirit of film. That's to have people together and having fun with crazy things like karaoke or things like that. It's
seeing you and Kyle Snavely singing Bohemian Rhapsody in Rotterdam, that was worth the COVID risk right there.
Okay. No. Okay. I just cut the camera. Cut everything. Yes, the boy.
That was worth the entire trip, and risking international travel just before the world shut down.
Yeah.
That was a great time.
Always have in mind.
But we really got to tip our hats to Mark and Christina and Brian and Laura, who's no longer with the organization, and now Wouter and Indra, for really keeping the engine going and giving all of us opportunities to pitch in, to help make it as great an experience as it is.
And for sure, when I was not very confident when the pandemic starts, because how can we run that? And I feel like I was a little bit depressed with that. Say, okay, we won't do anything, and did the filmmaker want to do that, etc., etc. And thanks to the support of HQ, we can run online and we can do things. And even, of course, last year Filmapalooza was not a real Filmapalooza. We give the opportunity to people to watch the films and have prize and do things through videos. So the spirit of Filma was here, even if it was completely different. The spirit was here. That was great, and that's because Mark wanted to do it, and okay, don't do anything, just take some money from help of the government, etc. No, let's do something and give the opportunity. And you can't imagine how many French teams thanks me a lot when we run the Stuck at Home, because they say, we were really stuck at home, and you give us a possibility to have fun just for a weekend, to have fun. And they were really happy, and we have great films.
COVID, I think, 48HQ's response was very much in the spirit of how the 48 operates. It was like, all right, we got some limitations we got to deal with, but we got to pull something off. And the Cinema 48, that's an amazing tool that might have
of course
come to light some years from now, not immediately during COVID. That allowed us to hold virtual kickoff and drop off. And since I edit all my screeners, it was such an amazing tool to have. It's just like, I don't have to plug in all these USB drives and it was just like, okay, just download, here we go. and the films are
Yeah,
named
yeah.
nicely, and it just so these tools.
Yes, and with a good format.
Yeah, these tools that benefit both our participants and us as city producers may not have developed as rapidly.
Yes, yes, for sure, for sure, for sure. That's really appreciable, and many teams thanks us for that. And in all crises, there is good things that
Mhm.
are coming up. And for example, many teams say we like the Cinema 48, especially for the
Mhm.
drop-off aspect, because, and I think about that because first it's more ecological. You don't, and it's
Yeah.
less risky because I don't know for you, but sometimes you have teams who can put
Yep.
their life in danger just to come before
Yeah.
the drop off. And so sometimes you say, okay, it's less fun because you don't have the excitement to come and cross the line, etc. And there's so many
Mhm.
crazy stories. But on the other hand, you can also give the possibility to have people to do that. Of course, there is things like you don't finish your film or your internet connection is bad, etc., etc. There is stories, but it's less risky, and the people doesn't drive because, and also it gives the opportunity that for teams who are not in the major cities who can run it and in their own cities. So it gives good opportunity. And this year we have more teams than other years.
Chris and I also run the Missoula 48-hour film project. And Missoula's a tiny, tiny town. It's only 50,000 people in this huge state. It's the fourth largest state in the United States. It's massive.
Oh, really?
And,
Yeah.
so we did it in 2019 and we got, I think it was 8 or 10 teams. So, a decent showing. But, it's with so small a population and such a huge state, growing it was going to be a huge challenge. And in 2020 and 2021, it just wasn't viable for us to do it with travel restrictions. But then, Chris and I were kind of brainstorming with Cinema 48. It's like, okay, we're not going to do Missoula 48-hour film project anymore. We're going to do the Montana 48-hour film project. So we do a virtual kickoff and drop off. And then there's 3, major cities in Montana. You have Billings, which is way out east. Then you have Bozeman, and then you have Missoula. So we're going to do virtual kickoff and drop off from all over the state. And then we're going to do a night of screenings in Billings, a night of screenings in Bozeman, and a night of screenings in Missoula.
Yeah. I have one question for you. Did you have teams in Seattle who are coming from other cities of the USA?
Well, more so during the pandemic, so we had a team from Tel Aviv in the horror competition. In 2020, we had a handful of East Coast teams do both the summer and the horror event. And
okay. And did they come for the screening?
No, they didn't. Not last year, because we didn't have in-person screenings. But we'll get and I was talking to Indra about this because especially Americans on the West Coast, we perceive distance very differently than most Europeans do. Because if I drive from my home to my brother's home, that's the equivalent of driving from Paris to Berlin.
Wow.
It's 800, a little over 800 kilometers.
Wow. Nobody will do that.
So, just it's 480, almost 500 kilometers east across Washington State to Spokane, the second largest city in Washington. So, distance, really plays a factor. So in Seattle, we draw mostly from Western Washington, basically from the Canadian border down to, Olympia, which is the capital of Washington. It's about 100 kilometers south of Seattle, and east a ways. We'll get some from Idaho. We'll get one from Spokane, and Portland in Oregon is only 3 hours to the south. So we don't actively promote the Seattle 48 in Portland because we don't want to like get a team that's going to do Seattle instead of Portland. Rob and I have had that agreement since the beginning. But if there's a team that's going to do both, we do encourage that. So we get some Portland teams as well. But we've had teams come up from LA, but more often than not, Seattle teams will go down and compete in LA.
Okay, understand. That's because this year, for example, so I will have 10 teams. Will come to represent France in Washington, D.C. But on these 10 teams, I have 5 winners who are from other cities. That's, I think it's one thing we need to discuss about the fact that you represent a city, but if the city is a really important to be represented in the film, because if you have some film for who are done in just a simple room, if you shoot in Seattle, in Paris, or in Vancouver, who cares? The most important thing is the city, and is the film itself. It's the narrative way. So with this rule, when it's your first edition in one city, you have to identify the city. It makes sense, but if it's not, that's and it's also due to the evolution and the globalization of everything means that we are actually discussing together. You are in Seattle, I'm in Paris, and we talk like if we are in the same room.
Exactly.
Our parents can never think about doing that. So
I know.
Why do people who are doing films have to be stuck to one city? I like the fact that you represent your own city. That's really because you bring also the culture of your city, etc. But sometimes when you have small cities, it's difficult to help that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just think about, the Netherlands, they have 6 or 7 in any given year. Yeah. That is a tiny country. It's a tiny country.
Really.
It would fit inside of Washington State several times. I mean, it's to have so many, but it seems to work for them, because teams can compete in, several different representing, the Netherlands. If a team from Nijmegen wins in Amsterdam,
that's
not the same thing as a team coming up from Los Angeles to Seattle and winning. It's a totally different thing.
Yeah, I think there are some countries, I think Vietnam or Israel do that. They don't do a 48 for a city. They do a 48 for a country. Yeah. I think Israel do that or Vietnam. I don't remember, but there's some cities like that who countries would do that, small countries.
And that makes sense.
Yeah.
One of my favorite countries to visit in the entire world is, Slovenia. Yeah. And, it'd be weird to have, like a Ljubljana 48-hour film festival and then a Novo Mesto film festival. It's just, it's crazy because that's a tiny little country. I mean, you can drive across it in 4 hours. It's so small. So it makes sense to do a country-based one.
It is.
The one 48 I really want to see happen. Well, 2. Stockholm and Oslo.
Yes, there's nothing in the Scandinavian countries. That's crazy.
Copenhagen should have one.
Because for example, if you watch, there's many TV shows on Netflix I follow. Have you ever seen Borgen?
I haven't seen that one.
I'll send you the link. It's on Netflix. I don't know if you have it in USA, but there's many good TV shows in Scandinavia, and it's great. It's quite strange that there is no 48 in Scandinavian countries.
Yeah, I mean, in our Netflix, we get a lot of Icelandic, Swedish, Finnish, and Norwegian.
And Denmark also. We have there's a lot of things from Denmark also.
Yeah.
Great things.
I mean, I would love to see it. I want any excuse to go back to, Norway and Sweden because I love it there. It's, it's where my genetic material comes from.
Yeah, I can understand your tattoos.
Yes.
What's your plans for Filma? When you will arrive, or?
Oh, I'm coming in a day early because I'm helping Wouter with the screenings.
Okay, great.
And going to help run the audiovisual portion of the awards. So I'm going to come in a day early, and I'm going to stay a couple of days late, just because I haven't been to Washington D.C. since I was a senior in high school. So
okay,
it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So so I'm going to stay a couple of days late. Come in, a little early, stay a little late. Because I can't do the traveling where it's just come in at the last moment and leave at the earliest possible moment. I like having a little window of opportunity.
Unfortunately, I think it will be my case this year because of my schedule and my I had some health problems. So I will have the authorization from my doctor or not soon, and so I will know. But I know I will become from Friday to Sunday. That's but we will have opportunities to come back in DC. So, did I tell you my son will be in Vancouver next year?
Oh no, is he going to school there?
Yes, school, game design school.
Oh, cool.
La Salle School. And so I think we will have an opportunity. He will be there for 2 years, so I think we will have an opportunity to come and see you in
definitely. I love Vancouver's a great city, and there's a lot of really good, film and multimedia schools there. So maybe he could start the 48 in Vancouver. We need it.
You know that he helped me a lot this year. He managed all the screenings because I was not allowed with my doctor to do that. So he managed all the screening of Paris, and he helped me a lot. But I think he have a lot of work to do with the game design.
True.
So I'm not sure he will do that.
All right. Well, I got to sign off. So thank you so much, Olivier.
Thank you. It was so great to have this moment with you, and can't wait for Filma.
Yes. All right. Pressure your doctor. You have to go.
Yeah. I know. Also.
So it really doesn't matter what you look like, say or do. I know that I had a cooler weekend than you.
48 Hour Heroes Origin Stories is a production of Media Without Borders and the Seattle 48 Hour Film Project.